The Suez Canal, how one ship can crash the global economy. Picture this. A single captain's miscalculation on March 23, 2021, triggered a domino effect that would cost the world economy $9.6 billion per day. One vessel, wedged diagonally across a narrow waterway, brought the arteries of global commerce to a grinding halt. But this wasn't just any shipping accident. It was a stark reminder of how precariously our interconnected world balances on the edge of a 150-year-old ditch in the Egyptian desert. The Pharaoh's dream, Napoleon's obsession. The story begins not with container ships, but with ancient pharaohs who first dreamed of connecting the Mediterranean and Red Seas. What started as Pharaoh Senusret III's canal around 1850 BCE would eventually become the obsession of emperors, the prize of empires, and the lifeline of modern capitalism. Napoleon Bonaparte, standing amid the windswept sands of Egypt in 1798, envisioned a canal that would give France dominance over eastern trade routes. His engineers declared it impossible, claiming the Red Sea sat 30 feet higher than the Mediterranean. They were wrong, but Napoleon's empire crumbled before he could prove it. The dream passed to Ferdinand de Lesseps, a French diplomat with the audacity to believe he could reshape geography itself. In 1859, armed with a 99-year concession from Egypt's Khedive and the backing of French investors, de Lesseps began what many considered the most ambitious engineering project since the pyramids. The canal that changed everything. When the Suez Canal opened in 1869, it didn't just connect two bodies of water, it revolutionized global trade. Ships no longer needed to navigate the treacherous 300-mile journey around Africa's Cape of Good Hope. The new 120-mile shortcut reduced travel time from Europe to Asia by weeks, transforming the economics of empire and trade. The British, initially skeptical, quickly recognized the canal's strategic importance. By 1875, facing financial difficulties, Egypt's Khedive sold his shares to the British government. Prime Minister Benjamin Disraeli, acting with remarkable foresight, purchased the shares for $4 million, equivalent to billions today. This single transaction would give Britain control over the highway to India and cement the canal's role as the jugular vein of empire. But here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. The canal that was built to serve the age of sail and steam would become absolutely critical to the age of container shipping and global supply chains. The choke point that rules the world. Today's Suez Canal handles approximately 12% of global trade and 30% of all container ship traffic. Every day, $9.6 billion worth of goods passes through this narrow waterway, from European cars heading to Asian markets, to Middle Eastern oil bound for Western refineries, to the consumer electronics and fast fashion that stock the shelves of American retailers. The canal's importance stems from brutal economic mathematics. The alternative route around Africa adds 3,500 miles and 8 to 12 days to journey time. For a large container ship burning $50,000 worth of fuel daily, the Suez Canal isn't just convenient, it's financially essential. Modern container ships have grown to astronomical proportions, driven by economies of scale. The Ever Given, launched in 2018, stretches 1,312 feet long and 193 feet wide, longer than the Empire State Building is tall. These maritime giants can carry over 20,000 containers, but their immense size makes them vulnerable to the very choke points they depend on. March 23, 2021. When time stopped. At 7:40 a.m. Cairo time, the Ever Given entered the Suez Canal as part of a northbound convoy. What happened next would become one of the most expensive maritime accidents in history. High winds and a sandstorm reduced visibility, but the ship pressed on. As it navigated the canal's narrower southern section, a combination of factors, strong crosswinds, possible mechanical issues, and the ship's massive windage area caused the vessel to lose control. The Ever Given swung sideways, its bow grinding into the eastern bank while its stern lodged against the western shore. In that moment, the Ever Given became a 220,000-ton cork in the world's most important bottle. The $54 billion traffic jam. Within hours, ships began backing up on both sides of the canal. By day 6, 422 vessels waited in maritime traffic jams stretching across the Mediterranean and Red Seas. The economic impact was staggering. Lloyd's List estimated that $9.6 billion in trade was delayed every day, with westbound goods valued at $5.1 billion and eastbound at $4.5 billion. Oil prices spiked as tankers carrying Middle Eastern crude sat motionless. European factories began shutting down production lines as components from Asian suppliers failed to arrive. American retailers watched nervously as billions of dollars in merchandise sat trapped aboard ships that couldn't move. The blockage exposed the frightening fragility of just-in-time supply chains. Modern manufacturing depends on components arriving precisely when needed, with minimal inventory buffers. When the Ever Given blocked the canal, it revealed how a single point of failure could cascade through the entire global economy. The Herculean effort to move a mountain. What followed was an engineering marvel that captured worldwide attention. Egyptian authorities, led by the Suez Canal Authority, launched a massive operation involving tugboats, excavators, and dredging equipment. The initial plan seemed almost comical. Use excavators to dig out the bow while tugboats pulled from behind. But the Ever Given had buried its bulbous bow 60 feet into the canal bank. Excavators worked around the clock, removing 27,000 cubic meters of sand and mud. Meanwhile, engineers calculated that they needed to remove 20,000 tons of cargo to lighten the ship, but accessing the containers would require cutting through the hull. The breakthrough came on March 29th, when a combination of dredging, tugboats, and a high tide finally freed the vessel. The Ever Given's liberation was cheered worldwide, but the incident had already demonstrated how quickly our interconnected world could unravel. Lessons from the ditch. The Ever Given incident wasn't just a shipping accident. It was a wake-up call about the vulnerabilities built into our global system. The canal's importance has only grown as world trade has expanded, but no significant alternatives exist. The Northwest Passage through the Arctic remains seasonal and dangerous, while overland routes through Russia and Central Asia can't handle the volume. Egypt, recognizing both the opportunity and the risk, has invested heavily in expanding the canal. The new Suez Canal project, completed in 2015, added a 22-mile parallel channel and widened several sections. But even these improvements can't eliminate the fundamental choke point. The incident also highlighted the growing size of container ships. The Ever Given was massive, but even larger vessels are now under construction. The economics of scale that drive these monster ships create a paradox. The more efficient they become, the more catastrophic their potential failures. The future of the world's highway. As we look toward the future, the Suez Canal remains both more important and more vulnerable than ever. Climate change may eventually open Arctic shipping routes, and ambitious projects like China's Belt and Road Initiative aim to create alternative pathways. But for now, this 150-year-old waterway continues to be the linchpin of global commerce. The Ever Given's 6-day blockage cost the world economy approximately $54 billion and reminded us that our modern world, for all its technological sophistication, still depends on the successful navigation of a narrow channel dug by hand in the Egyptian desert. In our interconnected age, sometimes the most important lessons come from the simplest failures. One ship, one canal, one moment, when the world held its breath and waited for the tugboats to pull us back from the brink. The next time you receive a package from across the world, remember, It probably passed through a waterway where for 6 days in March 2021, one sideways ship reminded us all how fragile our global economy really is.